now. All right. So let me ask before, what did you think of this lesson?
Mm, there were okay, so I was in love with the majority of the lesson.
Okay.
However, asking questions and I will completely be honest and say there probably was like just a bias when it came to this portion.
Okay.
Because as a teacher, I am an inquiry-based teacher. So like that's all I do is ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach by asking questions. So
Okay.
I am full like honesty. I was probably very harsh on you when it came to the asking questions part.
Okay.
Because I feel there's a lot of times as teachers, we want to give all the information, right? And we want to make sure that our kids know what we know.
Mm-hmm.
But we never take the time out to just trust the learning process and trust that they may actually know something before I try to give them any information.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we don't ask the questions that are necessary to see where the child is. And we could save ourselves so much time if we ask the appropriate questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we could probably save more instructional time somewhere else, right? If we ask the appropriate questions. So for asking questions, I gave you a 2.
I saw that.
It said, you definitely set the expectations up front. I was very proud of you with your clear directions and things of that nature. However, there was no real true like depth of understanding. So when you called on a student and they gave their answer, you never questioned them with a why.
Okay.
Or or explain. You never gave them that choice.
Okay.
And even if they were wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Even if they were wrong, as a teacher, you now see how they're thinking, how they're putting those building blocks together, and what you need to do to either reteach or to address the misconception.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sorry, my thing just went off. I'm actually was really surprised at this one. I thought I knocked this one out of the park. I really thought I did. So to address that one, what happened there is how the book works is obviously it does the basic grind where it's just problem, problem, problem. It also though goes through a definition phase as to why you have to give this answer. It actually goes as far as giving you a wrong equation, and then you have to explain why that equation is wrong and basically define it. So just because their language skills are so limited, I see what you're saying. Like asking them why, it's definitely helpful. But since the book already did it and their language skills were so minimal, it was easier to let them figure out why they got it wrong and just tell them, nope, this is wrong, and instead kind of let them work it through with their personal method, or in Eric's case, like take them to a new method, rather than quiz them as to the actual why. Just because I didn't know how to ask them why for math on top of it.
It's just a simple, just why. Just why. What's 1 + 1?
2.
Why?
Okay, then I'm just thinking what my kids would say to that. They would just give me this look as if like they don't have no idea what I'm asking for.
And that's okay. That is okay. If I ask Eric and Eric doesn't know how to explain, I may then ask Amelia. Amelia doesn't know how to explain. I then may move on to Rain. He may not know how to explain. That's fine. I still ask the question. And then it sparks something in them to know, or then the conversation can be, when you have an answer, you have to know how you got it, or you have to know how to explain it. And then you can go into the book. See here in the book, when it gives you the explanation, this is the why. Does that make sense? So it's still a teachable moment. It's sometimes it's not about the answer necessarily, but it's about the technique. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because if I ask my students, or in, let's say in a math, let's say your babies are multiplying. If I ask them what is 5 times 3, what are they going to say?
They would give me 15.
Okay. And if
If
I
they
said
know that.
why, and if I said why,
Mm-hmm.
what my kids would do, they would reverse, because 3 times 5 is 15.
Ah,
I now understand that they are assimilating that when it comes to multiplication, you can reverse the numbers. But if we change that operation and it's not multiplication, right?
yeah,
That does not work for everything. Does that make sense?
100%, yeah.
So I'm checking for a deeper level of understanding, and if they're able to have that dialogue. And I understand that their language is not as developed,
Mm-hmm.
but even if it's something where they can draw it out and explain,
Yeah.
even if the conversation is, well, 1 plus 1 is 2. If I have 1 pencil and Amelia has 1 pencil, we put them together, that's 2 pencils. They
Uh,
still can explain.
okay.
So don't look for the level of um explanation. Just try to
Assess their
push
understanding.
your yeah, push yourself to check for that understanding there.
Okay. I see what you're saying. That would have probably pushed it up to the next level, and that way I could see what they needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
I was more focused on the fact that they would not be. I can know now they wouldn't have been able to give me like a straightforward answer, but still being able to ask them probably would have shown me at least where they are in the curve. Or okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Uh, moving over real fast. Adapting instruction to student need. I have no idea how I could have made that one better.
Well, you did what you were supposed to do because you got a
Okay.
3.
Yeah.
Okay. While you had everyone kind of working in their silos, it freed you up to be a facilitator. And
Yes.
it allowed you to kind of walk around, and allowed you to move around and engage with every group, which then brought my point to Eric. And this is where you really kind of made sure that you went from a basic to a proficient, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You were able to see that Eric was struggling, and you, by having him move to the board and kind of work on the board,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had the students model for him. That's adapting to the instruction. Though let's say you would have had him just on the board, and he's working with his partner, and he may not know anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, he may have walked out the class that day, and you may have thought like, oh, the whole class knew what they were doing, and he didn't. But just allowing yourself to be freed up, you were able to identify that, hey, the student is struggling, and you
Mm-hmm.
adapted the instruction. And you did it twice by having him work specifically with you on the board. And then when you notice that, okay, this isn't working, you then had the whole group stop, and you had everybody kind of help him. So
Mm-hmm.
that was an awesome technique. That was
Thank you.
great. Yes, I was very excited to see that. I think I put the word great in here like a million times. um,
Thank you. But
yes.
how could I have made it better?
Um, that ties back to that asking questions.
Okay.
So once the class modeled for him,
Mm-hmm.
asking Eric to explain, maybe then asking a couple of other students to explain, and then maybe giving him a different problem and
Mm-hmm.
having him work on that problem would have probably given you a 4.
Okay.
Yep. So the difference that I always kind of look at between a 3 and a 4 is that you are continuously or consistently doing something. It's like a never back down.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not that the technique was wrong, it just wasn't consistent enough.
Yeah.
Okay.